With Reflect's API testing feature, you can create end-to-end tests that combine UI actions like clicks and inputs with direct API calls. This can be used for a variety of use cases, but two particular use cases where this would be valuable are setting up data at the beginning of the test or validating data from third-party systems. In this example, we're going to be walking through the former of setting up data as part of a larger end-to-end test. What I'll be doing here is testing Trello, and I'm going to be testing editing a card. So in Trello, there's a list of boards, and within a board, there's a card. And what we could do if we wanted this to be a pure UI test is to log into Trello, create the board, create the card, and then modify the card. But we can shortcut that by creating the card directly through Trello's API. So I've already created a segment in Reflect that logs me into Trello. A segment is just a set of test steps that you can share across tests. And we're going to start recording here, and it's going to automatically log me in. Once I'm logged in, I'm going to add an API call, which will generate our new card. And so we can click on the Add an API call, which is this button, the third button in the toolbar. And this will add a new step, which is a call API step. And what I'm going to be doing here is adding the information for the API call. So we're going to make a post, which will create the card. And we're going to enter in a few pieces of dynamic information. So I've already created account variables in Reflect for the API key and API token for Trello. So I'm going to insert that here by clicking on the Insert Variable option and choosing my API key, and then adding another parameter for token and inserting rather the variable for my token. Now, the other values that I have, I need to enter here are going to be in the URL. Normally, though, if you're doing a post, you would be entering data in the request body. So you could do that here. So for example, a name and a description could go here. But in Trello's API, that's actually done through URL parameters. So I'm just going to paste those in. So the name, the description, and the ID list is just the Trello board that I'm entering it into. Now, let's say I wanted to make the name be random. So just a random value every time. What I could do is enter a function here to give it a random number afterwards. So I'm going to move the cursor over after a new card and then do insert function and choose the num function to generate a random set of numbers. So we'll just make it 7 digits long. All right, so now that we've added that information, we can generate a API response because we want to extract information from the API call in order to know where the card is actually located, the URL of the card. So we're going to click on Send Test Request here, and the response body is displayed below. And if we navigate down below here, we can see that this short URL is the URL to the new card that was created. So we're going to click on that and tell Reflect to assign that to a variable. So this is how we can actually extract information out of an API call. So we'll call this card URL. Now, once that's been extracted, we could actually also add rules here too. So you could add a rule for this to validate things like, it should match an exact value. You could also add rules for mathematical validation. So let's say this was some sort of number, we could actually add a calculation for the number or insert variables and calculate that based on some existing data, but we don't need to do that here. We are just extracting it into this card URL variable. The final step here is we actually want to navigate to that card URL. So we're going to click on the address bar here, and we're going to click on Use URL from Variable to navigate to the card URL. So this is now scripted Reflect to login, which is in this login segment, call the API, and then navigate directly to the card URL, and here we are. So now that we're navigated to the card, we can directly test everything in this new card. So we could do some visual validations, like maybe make sure that the description is showing up as expected. We could edit the description, is edited. And we could also delete the card as well. So we could go down here and click archive, click delete. Maybe we want to do a visual validation of this. And then finally click delete. So this test, which may have been 40 or 50 steps to get to the point where you could actually edit that new card, is actually only 23 steps. So that's pretty nice. So let's go ahead and save it and run this. And once the test is saved, it will go ahead and run automatically. So we can actually watch this run. And what we'll see is that this is making that API call and generating a new card. So it's extracted that card value from the running API call and is replicating all the existing actions of the UI. So this should be a pretty easy to maintain test because even if it fails in the middle, it's okay. It's always interacting with a new card that's created. So that is API testing. Thanks and happy testing.